Good morning, everybody. My name is Chiara, and today I want to talk to you about a possible future scenario with reference to criminal justice in the US. The pandemic has led to the pause on jury trials, to court delays, and this resulted in extra months in jail for many unconvicted defendants. And this is unfair, particularly for those who are still incarcerated just because they cannot afford the bail. Another issue, which involves the US court system in its entirety, is going to be the massive number of trials to be held once it will be allowed. And even when the court system is rebooted, how will it be possible to go back to the courtrooms in compliance with the new rules of social distancing, which are now required as a consequence to coronavirus and are aimed to limit the risks of transmission deriving from a potentially packed courtroom? In this light, all sorts of courtroom experiments are being carried out all through the US at the moment. On the one hand, a possible solution is constituted by socially distanced in-person jury trials. On the other hand, looking back to see how a similar situation was dealt with in the past, another possibility may consist in open-air court hearings, as it happened during the Spanish flu. Well, these are possible solutions in order for trials to be carried out in person, once the state of emergency will have come to an end. Nevertheless, a third possible solution are jury trials conducted via teleconference. This third option would be an unprecedented innovation in legal terms, and the obstacles that all the US court system, from adopting fully remote jury trials as a solution till now have been of two main different natures: ethical and logistical. As far as the problem of fairness is concerned, the skepticism of the court system towards the use of remote tools in legal proceedings is due to the unique benefits of physical presence, as it was stated in 2018 by the U.S. Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. What is more, another obstacle consists in the so-called confrontation clause, which is to be found in the Sixth Amendment and guarantees the criminal defendants the right to be confronted with the witnesses against them, if not in some certain narrow circumstances, such as the case of an underage abuse victim who wishes to stay anonymous, and we might add, such as the case of a pandemic. It is also worth specifying that the real innovation refers to fully remote jury trials, because some judge-only insurance cases have happened already by video conference. Not only that, some of the least consequential hearings, with the consent of the defendant, are also being allowed to unfold remotely. I'm talking about some civil procedures, grand juries, and summary juries, as well as some arraignments and preliminary hearings. But the issue remains for more consequential hearings. The less consequential hearings we mentioned are low risk in comparison with full-scale criminal trials, which nonetheless happen to be the most urgent to hold, as well as the most controversial. So what about the potential logistical issues which might undermine these more consequential hearings? First, let us take a step back for a moment and see how these video chat juries might work. In fact, the NCSC, which is the National Center for State Courts, has already published a tentative framework for how these rebooted juries might look. They might in fact take place using Zoom, with the jurors voting with Zoom's raise hand feature, and there would be an IT team chat with jurors in advance to check the quality of their connection, the Wi-Fi connection, I mean. That is to say, fully remote jury trials seem, at least theoretically, a viable option. If we agree on the acceptability of swearing oaths over Zoom through a checkbox and an e-signature. The point is that connection glitches are bound to happen, and screen freezes and dropped audio are glitches that have to be taken into account and which risk to seriously compromise the final result of the trial as well as the life of the defendant. To sum up, there are pros and cons, but if remote juries do turn out to be unfair or technically impractical, we'll know it soon. As pilot trials of fully remote juries and those with a mix of in-person and online members are currently being tested all through the US, we shall see in the nearest future if we are on the verge of an unprecedented turning point for the US court system, or if we're going back to normal, or if going back to normal, if still possible, will be the chosen path after this pandemic. I just want to sincerely thank you for the attention and wish you all a nice day. Thank you very much.